Okay guys, now I'm going to do number 52 on your review sheet. We have x to the 2/3 y to the negative 7 over x to the 7/9 y to the 1/2. This one's not that bad. It's just, this stuff's really going to help you guys get used to fractions and just manipulating fractions to make them in the form that you want. So that's what we're going to be doing a lot of here. Okay, so let's go ahead. We have x to the 2/3 over x to the 7/9. I need to make a common denominator there. I also see that I have a negative 7 in the top, which I would like to make positive, and I see that I have a y to the negative 1/2 in the bottom. Negative 7 and 1/2, I'm going to need a common denominator for those as well. So let's start with the x's. X to the 2/3 over x to the 7/9. I'm just going to go ahead and make my common denominator there. So x to the 2/3, my common denominator is going to be 9. So 2/3 becomes 6/9. Oops. And then I have y to the negative 7. But I want to make that, so we have 6/9. X is 6/9 over x is 7/9. I'm just going to take care of those x terms first. So now I see that I have y to the negative 7 and I have a y to the 1/2 in the bottom. I need to write y to the negative 7 in terms of a fraction that has a 2 in the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and write that as y to the negative 14 over 2. Because negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. So I just rewrote it in terms of that. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify all this out. X to the 6/9 over x to the 7/9 leaves me with x to the 1/9 in my denominator. Y to the negative 14 over 2 over y to the 1/2. Well, let's go ahead and put those in the denominator. So if I don't have anything in my denominator, which I won't after I put the y to the negative 14 over 2 in the denominator, sorry, if I don't have anything in the numerator, which I won't after I put the y to the negative 14 over 2 in the denominator, I'm just going to put a 1 in the numerator. So I'm going to put that y to the negative 14 over 2 in the denominator and make it 14 over 2. And then y to the 1/2 as it was in the denominator. I'm going to go ahead and combine those, and I get 1 over x to the 1/9. 14 over 2 plus 1 over 2 is 15 over 2, so that's y to the 15 over 2. Okay. Alright, so y to the 15 over 2 is clearly an improper fraction. How many times does 2 go into 15? Well, it goes in 7 times, so I can just rewrite that whole thing as 1 over x to the 1/9 y to the 7th times y to the 1/2. And you need to understand that that is the same thing as y to the 15 over 2, because if I add those 7 and I add 1/2, if I add 7 and 1/2, I get 15 over 2, because 7 can be written as 14 over 2, and 1/2 is 1 over 2, so 14 plus 1 is 15 over 2. Now, so you guys can see this a little better, that y to the 1/2 is the same thing as the square root of y. So we're going to go ahead and rationalize that and make it so that there's no radicals in the denominator. So let's go ahead and rewrite it with the square root of y. So we got 1 over x to the 1/9. Oh, that's too messy. X to the 1/9 y to the 7th times the square root of y. And if I rationalize that, I will multiply both top and bottom by the square root of y. So when I'm multiplying both top and bottom by the square root of y, this term here is the same thing as 1. That's why we can do this. This is not an illegal move. I'm multiplying the entire thing by 1. Just 1 looks different now because it's seen as the square root of y over the square root of y. So I've multiplied the top and bottom by the square root of y. So these two y's cancel out, and we are left with just a y in the bottom. So let's see, we have the square root of y on top, because that guy goes in the numerator. And then we have just a y built from these terms. So we got the square root of y over x to the 1/9 y to the 7th times y, which was the square root of y times the square root of y. Just rewrote it for you guys. And that then is just the square root of y over x to the 1/9 y to the 8th. And that is my answer.